Hey everyone, welcome back to another Jazz Drum Q-Tip of the week. My name is Quincy Davis. If you are new, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoy it so much that you push that like button, subscribe. I love hearing from you. All my regulars know I read all the comments and I try to respond to everybody. So go ahead and put a comment down below. Let me know where you're tuning in from and let me know what you thought of the video. All right, so I've been wanting to do a video like this for a long time. There's so much information in this video. You're going to want to watch the whole thing. Trust me, I've put a lot of thought into it. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into it. So along with talking about and covering the topic of how drummers can tell if a ride cymbal works for their playing, I'm basically going to be breaking down and talking about 10 to 11 to 12 points and things that I personally look out for, and I think it's going to be helpful for you when I choose a cymbal, not just ride cymbal. It says ride cymbal, but this applies to ride cymbals, crash cymbals, crash rides, anything that you're looking for. So I'll be doing that. And then I'm going to do something that I've wanted to do for at least 5 years, which is demonstrate how to actually demo a cymbal, because there are so many egregious. Yes, I said egregious. It's a strong word, but I mean it.
And that sample and that demonstration is egregious. You should be jailed for, okay, maybe life is a little extreme, but at least 2 years. Yes, 2 years.
I've seen and heard so many bad cymbal demonstrations of people wanting to sell their cymbals, but they're not helping themselves because they don't know how to demo the cymbal to get the cymbal to do what it does best. Dang, that was a mouthful. So I'm going to actually do it, a demonstration of how to demo a cymbal. How's that sound? If you guys are ready, for this, then you know what to do. I haven't done this in a while, but I feel compelled. If you guys are ready, then let's go! Yeah! Woo! That felt good. All right, so the first thing I want to say is never, absolutely never buy a cymbal without hearing it, okay? Because as we know, cymbals, even if it's the same model, they're not all created the same, right? There's always going to be, there's so many different variables. So you need to hear the exact cymbal that you are seeking to buy. I'm assuming you're buying it online. If you're buying it in the store, then of course you'll be able to hear it. But if you're buying online, which is predominantly how drummers these days buy cymbals, and it's really convenient. However, if you can't hear the cymbal, it's even better if you can see it. But if you can't even just hear the cymbal, don't buy it, because you're not going to have a good idea of what that cymbal actually sounds like until it arrives. And then you get it and you're like, oh, it sounds so bad, but it said it was 20,000 grams and I thought it was going to sound lighter. All right, so make sure you hear, and even better if you can see the cymbal before you buy it. All right, so the next thing I want to say is go with your instincts. It's easy to be influenced by people, those around you, including your friends and your parents even, or your teachers, and that's all great, and you should listen to everybody. However, your opinion and your instincts are first most important. If you're attracted to the cymbal sound, if you like the way it feels, all those kinds of things, go with your instincts, okay? Now, this is not going to determine if you get the cymbal or not. However, it's a great place to start. All right, so the next one is try to find cymbals, whether it's a crash cymbal, ride cymbal, China cymbal, whatever it is. Try to find cymbals that sound like drummers whose cymbals sound you like, right? And that will get you going in the right direction. Try to figure out if they have thin cymbals, is it a thin ride or is it a heavier, thicker ride? What size is the ride cymbal? You know, around the gram weight, what gram weight is. All these kinds of things will get you going in the right direction so that you're not just listening to everything, and you have a little more clear idea of what sound you're going for. This next one is very important. Find a cymbal that feels good. And by feels good, I'm talking about how does the actual stick feel on the cymbal. And it's kind of like, you know, you might find some really nice clothes that look cool, but then you put them on and they don't fit your body that great. So no matter how nice the clothes are, they're not going to look that good on you because they don't fit your body, right? So you have to first make sure you find clothes or find a cymbal that feels good. Even if the sound is not exactly what you're looking for, sometimes because you feel so comfortable on a cymbal, you're going to play it in a certain way with a certain amount of confidence needed to create a really good feeling from the ride cymbal or even crash cymbal, whatever. But I'm specifically thinking about ride cymbal because we predominantly play the ride cymbal in jazz 95% of the time, right? 90%, 95, depends on what the style is. But I digress. Anyway, find a cymbal that feels good. That's the whole point, okay? If the cymbal sounds great, but it feels like crap, probably not a great cymbal for you. The next one is very important. It's something we always talk about in jazz for a ride cymbal. Figure out the ratio of stick to wash, right? Is there more wash than stick that you can't really hear the definition of the stick? Or do you predominantly just get the stick, right, which would be more of a dry sound, and no wash? That's dry, right? You have super wet, which is lots of wash but no stick, or you have dry where you have all stick, no wash. And usually a good ride cymbal, a good jazz ride cymbal is somewhere in between. It has a good balance of both, ideally, right? So if you listen to this one, you can hear the stick, but you also get the kind of roar, the air underneath it. But there's not too much air that it covers up the stick. Now I have other cymbals that have a lot more air and maybe not as clear of a stick, right? So it depends on what you're going for, but that ratio, that balance of stick to wash is very important to look out for. Pay heed to how your stick of choice works with your cymbal of choice, right? Let's say you play a really heavy stick, but you really like this cymbal that is thin. It has a great sound. But in context, if you get to playing, it gets to roaring because your stick's so heavy that it's making the cymbal wash out sooner than it would than if you were playing a lighter stick. So it almost sounds like that. Right? You're just getting the wash, but no definition. Whereas if you play a lighter stick like me, this is obviously this is my personal stick. If you're interested, the link is down below. But it's a nylon tip, so I can get away with playing a washier cymbal somewhat without the wash becoming too much because the nylon tips helps to bring out the higher frequencies and gives a little point or a little more definition than maybe a wood tip would. But this is all preferences. Whatever you prefer, just make sure your stick jives. Yes, I said jives with the cymbal of choice, and it's going to help you feel much more comfortable with that cymbal. I always listen out for the dynamic range of a cymbal. Some cymbals really have a huge dynamic range. I should also say frequency range, right? So some cymbals are, you can hear the lows, you can hear the mids, and you can hear the highs, right? Which would create a very large dynamic range, whereas some cymbals only have highs and not many lows, or some cymbals have only lows, not many highs, right? So listen out for that. In this case, so this is a 22-inch bounce ride by ZILDJIAN, of course, my company. So I'm not sure how well it's going to record, but it has lows. And I can even bring out more lows. Right? So you can hear the lows. And it has some mids. I think of the mids as kind of the air in the cymbal. And it's not super airy, but it definitely has some air. And then I would say it doesn't have super high frequency, super high stick definition frequency, right? So I would say it's more like mid highs that I hear on the top end of the frequency range, right? Not super high, but mid high. So altogether, how do these frequencies jive together, and what kind of dynamic range do they create, right? And so this is something that I certainly listen out for, and I think will help you choose a cymbal that has a little more versatility, right, and a larger dynamic range. How much of the cymbal, the ride cymbal, do you want to be crashable, right? Do you want it to be a really crashable ride cymbal, or do you want it to be more like a flat ride that's not crashable? It is crashable, but it's not like a crash. It's not like a brash crash. Brash crash. And I think a good ride cymbal should be crashable, because you don't want to just do this without doing that, without being able to do that, and the cymbal responds. You want to be able to technically, a really good ride cymbal, you should only need that ride cymbal on a gig, right? That's how good a ride cymbal that you should be looking out for. That means you can ride on it and you can crash it. It has a good bell. We'll get to the bell. But how much it crashes is up to you. It's up to you how much you want the cymbal to crash. Some cymbals open up really quickly, and then the decay is either long or short. Some cymbals, it's like a big Cadillac. It takes a little more for it to get going, and it doesn't open up very quickly. And some people prefer that. It's up to you. But this is another thing to listen out for: crashability. All right. So ideally, you're able to check to see how the cymbal fits with your actual drums, right? So if it's a good cymbal, if it's a good fit, then they kind of blend together. And I think it's also how you play, right? How you play has a lot to do with how well the cymbal blends with the tone of your drums. So pay attention to that as well. I think that, your drum tone can actually change how the impression or the how your cymbals perceived from out front and in the midst of the whole band context. So pay attention to that. Do you have high tune drums? Do you have low tune drums? As a result, how's that specific ride cymbal blend with those drums and that tone, and create a composite drum sound, right? Cymbals and drums included into the same tone or sound together. What kind of drum soundscape are you creating with your cymbals and your drums? Something to pay attention to. All right, another thing is right? It sucks when you have a good cymbal, but it doesn't have a good bell sound. Now, it's not the first thing I listen out for, because I don't play the bell nearly as much as I play more in this area where I'm just riding. But ideally, you have a cymbal that you can get a good bell tone on. That way you don't have to work too much to first of all, to find it. Like if it's a mini bell ride, then you kind of have to work a little harder to find where that sweet spot for the bell is. And you might miss it a lot, right? And then if it's a good bell size, well, is the bell kind of overly piercing? Is it really quiet? Is it just an unpleasant tone, or does it blend in with the rest of the cymbal nicely? Something else to think about: the bell tone. All right, so this is assuming you got the cymbal and Hopefully there's a decent return policy, maybe a 1 week return policy, ideally. But ideally you have a chance to record the cymbal and see how it records. That way you get an objective listen to it, either a more controlled environment like this or actually on a gig, on an actual gig. And that will help you decide, okay, is this the overall drum sound and cymbal sound that I'm going for? Am I achieving the overall tone in my cymbal, in my crash, in my hi-hats, right? That I thought I was when I was playing it. This is a very important step into determining whether the cymbal works best for your playing. So definitely record yourself both in a controlled environment and an uncontrolled environment on a gig or in a jam session or something like that. Ideally, obviously, you can't always have that luxury, but if you can, I encourage you to do it. For the love of cymbals, please start making better cymbal demos, please. I beg you, we all beg you. There's nothing worse than when you're excited about a cymbal and then there's a video sample or even just an audio sample, and that sample and that demonstration is egregious. You should be jailed for, okay, maybe life is a little extreme, but at least 2 years. Yes, 2 years for bad cymbal demonstration. So I'm going to show you how to do it right now. For most of our cymbal purchases, we're going to get them online. So we're relying on good demonstrations. So I'm going to show you how to demo a cymbal in the most effective way. Okay, here we go. Okay, so start with just quarter notes. Simple. You don't have to be an amazing drummer to do this. Don't play your quarter notes too close to the bell. Don't play too close to the edge. Play about an inch and a half up from the edge. And that's usually the cymbal's sweet spot, okay? So just start doing that and play it at different tempos. If you're comfortable playing the ride cymbal pattern, because I realize there's different levels of drummers demonstrating these cymbals, right? So maybe you're not as comfortable doing this. But if you are, by all means, do it at slow tempos and do it at faster tempos. It doesn't have to be super fast. Okay, so I want you to start there. Notice to this point, I have not yet played the bell. A couple problems I have with ride cymbal, jazz ride cymbal specifically, demonstrations is that they spend too much time playing the bell. And that's not as important as this part of the cymbal, okay? The other thing that a lot of drummers do who are demonstrating cymbals is they'll play one note and then they'll do that and wait 5 minutes and then they'll do it again. And that doesn't really help me know how the cymbal is going to respond when there's persistent or consistent quarter notes being played, which is how we play it in the jazz context. And so you might be fooled into thinking, oh my gosh, that cymbal sounds so beautiful. Oh my goodness. But then when you play ding, 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 it sounds like this because it starts to wash out, right? So really make sure you're playing quarter notes at different tempos, and if you can play the ride cymbal beat, even better, right? And then make sure you demonstrate its crashability. We talked about that earlier. So crashability at all dynamics. Start quiet, and notice I'm doing a cymbal shank as opposed to a straight crash. We'll do that as well, but I'm using kind of the neck of the cymbal, or of the stick, to crash it. I'm going to get louder. And at its loudest, I'm actually going to play at the edge. And this really demonstrates the dynamic range of the cymbal, which is what I talked about. These are kind of more specific to the ride cymbal. But if you do that, then you will have made a very good demo video for a jazz ride cymbal, okay? The basic thing, the main thing to think about, how will the cymbal that you're trying to show off be played predominantly? If it's a ride cymbal in a jazz context, you want to demonstrate it being rolled on, right? Quarter notes. If it's a crash cymbal, then you're going to demonstrate it being crashed predominantly, right? Maybe you want to ride on a little bit, but if it's a crash cymbal, we'll just act like these are crash cymbals. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to ride on a 14-inch or a 15-inch crash. We don't need to hear that, right? We just need to hear the cymbals being demonstrated how they would actually be used in a gig context, right? If it's a rock ride cymbal, then you're predominantly going to be demonstrating how the bell is crucial. So you're really going to show off that bell, but you're also not going to neglect the ride part of the cymbal. If it's a splash cymbal, psh, psh, splash it, right? Demonstrate it how you're actually going to be using it. For hi-hats, demonstrate the cymbals open, completely open, how they sound with the foot, splashing with the foot, and then playing with the stick from closed all the way to open. Right? Get all the whole dynamic range. And then if they're jazz hi-hats, you want to do that. You can also play, right? Or however you want to demonstrate those hi-hats, but make sure that is the main thing that you're showing off. I want to say one more thing, if I may. If it's a jazz cymbal that you're trying to sell, do not play funk. Okay? Okay, you can play funk on it. But if that's the only thing you're playing, then you're not showing us how to use it in a jazz context. Because in jazz, we go. So if the whole video you're going, you're not helping us know how that cymbal actually sounds in a jazz context. Does that make sense? All right. So I'm not saying you can't show off other styles, but just pay heed to the main style that the cymbal you're selling sounds best being played in. Okay? That's most important. I hope this helps. There's just so many bad videos. I just had to do this. So. And I'm going to give you a list of different cymbal companies that are making good cymbals. Of course, I'm biased. I love ZILDJIAN. I've been with ZILDJIAN for probably almost 10 years now. And they treat me good. They make great cymbals. They just came out with a new Qtips line. Definitely check those out. I'm also not oblivious to the fact that there's a lot of other companies making good cymbals, which actually bodes well for us because you have a lot of choices. For finding a good cymbal. And especially nowadays, there's so many smaller custom cymbal makers, and I encourage you to check them out as well. But, of course, start with ZILDJIAN. But I just want to name a few custom cymbal companies. You have Ottaviano, Nicky Moon, Timothy Roberts. You have Paul Francis and his cymbal company, Cymbal Craftsman, Craig Lauritsen, Matt Bettis, Screta Cymbals. There's so many really good custom smaller cymbal makers that are doing great stuff. So definitely check them out. But the main thing is find a cymbal that works good for you and think about all these different kind of points to listen out for and make sure you can hear the cymbal you are purchasing. And that's it. Okay, I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this video. I know it's a little different than what I normally do, but hopefully it was helpful. And until the next time, you know what to do. Practice hard, but practice smart. Take care. Peace.